welcome back to Smashing Heads Podcast. This is our recap for the Challenge USA Episode 8. My name's Zach, and I'm joined by my wife, Hannah.
Hey.
And as you are hearing this, it's obviously later than we wanted it to be. It's currently Tuesday. We know a new episode comes out on Wednesday. It's been a weird, long weekend.
I thought today was Monday.
Not just that, but like we've had a lot of stuff going on with just like having to see family and stuff because obviously we're moving across the country and we have less than 2 weeks left and we have very limited time where we can see certain people, all that type of stuff. We were doing family stuff and visiting grandparents and going to final football games and stuff like that. And then planning on recording yesterday, and one of my best friends, their mom passed away unexpectedly yesterday. And so I was at the hospital with them for 3 hours or so, and I just, being around that and getting home, honestly just didn't really feel like recording yesterday. Hannah had some other stuff going on too, and so we pushed it to today. I don't think that my friend that went through this, that he's listening to this, but he is a fan of the challenge and of us. And so, you know how I feel about you, man. I talked to you a lot yesterday. I hung with you for a while. And so
You got a crush on him.
I just don't know.
But he's married.
I just don't want, again, it's been a tough situation.
Yeah.
He had to drive in. I don't see him a lot just cause he lives about 2 hours away now, but we were roommates in college and friends in high school. And so we talk a lot. We just don't see each other a lot. And so seeing him was good yesterday because I wasn't sure we would before we left, but obviously not under the circumstances you want it to be. So, again, Chris, I hope you're not listening if I'm being totally honest because I just want you to focus on other things. But anyway, we're here, we're recording, we got other stuff coming up. There's probably a 50% chance our apartment might call me while we're recording. If there's an abrupt stop and restart, that's going to be why. We're just having to get everything in place as far as lease agreements and welcome letters and getting power and utilities put in our name and all that stuff. We've just been doing that. And we found out our insurance company doesn't provide anything out of state, so now we have to get new car insurance and all that type of stuff. Some of it's to be expected, and other of it's just like didn't realize. Yeah, so there's just a lot going on. None of that's you guys' fault. We're not blaming you. It's just we meant to record earlier this weekend, and then stuff just kept coming up with all this, and so we've got how many days left? Like 11 days before we leave.
If today's Tuesday and we're leaving next Saturday.
Yeah, 11. We're leaving 11 days from today. So, got a lot to do still. We're about 80% packed though.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're not. The good news is we've been living basically like we were moving for the last month or so.
I've been wearing the same 5 shirts for 2 months.
Yeah, we've packed almost all of our clothes except for a big moving box full, and we've just mostly been living out of that because we sold a ton of stuff and we wanted to get our house ready to show for when it was going up for sale. And so we've been just living like that, like we're in showing mode. And so we just have one room that
just
was
boxes.
A guest bedroom that we cleared everything out of and sold the furniture in it, and then it's just boxes for moving. And so we have 3 bowls and 3 spoons and those.
No, we still have all of our silverware out.
Oh, do we?
Yes,
I thought it was all put
of it.
up. So
no, because I've been washing it.
I haven't been using it. And the other thing is our dishwasher broke last week after we haven't used it since the inspection. And good news is we've been very generous with the people that are buying our house and agreeing and doing things on their terms. And so we asked if they wanted us to replace it or if they wanted us to give them a credit at closing for the dishwasher not working, and they actually said, you know what, you guys have worked with us a lot, just don't worry about it. So that's great, but it is annoying that it just stopped working.
I was worried that was going to be another several $100 thing right before we left, but thankfully we don't have to worry about it. So all I have to do is just hand wash everything.
Which we're not using that many dishes though. And so we're trying to live like we only own 2 dishes apiece. And so it's a little annoying, but it is what it is. We move into our new place on the 13th, and we're making it into a 3.5
2 weeks from today.
Yeah. It was supposed to be a 3-day drive, and we actually pushed it into a 4th day just because of the dogs, and we did not want to be arriving in Utah at like closing time, and we didn't want to have to leave at like 5 a.m. for the last day. And you never know, you run into traffic, whatever. And so we split it up into another day. So we're going to spend the night, an extra night on the road. And that'd be good though, because like instead of doing 8 hours each day, we're going to do 8, and then 4 and 4. So that's not going to be as bad the last 2. I mean, I'm kind of excited about it. It's
about the drive. We've already done it once
in a much different capacity. Yeah. But it wasn't that bad
in
though.
the minivan with your parents.
Yeah, and
because I ate some of your dad's candy, and he was like, "I didn't buy that for you."
And
I was like, "But you're driving, and you can't stop me."
But no dogs.
No dogs.
No U-Haul. No trailer pulling a car behind the U-Haul. And so it's gonna be. If anybody that is out there and has done cross country moves, and you have some advice for, hey,
like tips.
That's the same thing. And if. Yeah. And so if you have anything like, oh, I didn't think about this, I wish I would have done this when we were moving, let us know. Again, at Smashing Heads on Twitter, at Smashing Heads Podcast on Facebook and Instagram. I don't know.
You can email us.
You can, but don't.
But I enjoy the emails.
You've never once read our emails.
But I like when we receive them and you read them to me.
Exactly. So we get a lot of spam emails now, honestly. So that's why I'm saying Instagram or Twitter are the best.
Also, I put up one of those question things on Instagram the other day asking for road trip snacks. Because, I mean, we're going to be on the road for 4 days. And so I need like a good variety of snacks that's going to
Which would be
keep
fair.
me
I think we can handle
days.
that on our own.
No, sometimes I need like, oh, hey, you need to try this if you haven't had it before. And I see it and I'm like, I've never even heard of that. And it looks amazing.
Well, the problem is you're just allergic to most things. And we're going to have this. It's going to be interesting because I'm going to have one dog in the U-Haul with me. And ideally it was going to be our bigger dog. But after looking at the cab of the U-Haul, I don't think that's going to work.
So I'm going to be driving your baby, and you're going to be driving my baby,
who's much smaller and can fit in. The problem is it's just a bucket seat, and I don't think Buster can fit comfortably in the bucket seat if he wants to like curl up and lay down because he's too big. Like if he set up on like how dogs sit for the entire time, then sure he could fit there. But I just don't think it's going to work. We did get radios. We do have like.
Walkie-talkies.
Yeah, I mean they're like more advanced than that. They're ones made for like outdoors, and they can go up to like 10 miles apart. And so we got that just so we don't have to be on our phones. We can just kind of, hey, do you want to stop at this exit coming up, and just kind of do it that way instead of having to call each other and all that. And then I got like a battery backup for phone, and the U-Hauls themselves will have, places to charge phones and stuff like that. But just in case I wanted to have, a battery backup because otherwise, it's we're kind of going blind because we're going to whole new areas. Because the last part of our trip is a whole different route than what we took the first time. The first 2 days are the same.
Yeah.
And then after that, it's a different route than what we did in 2020. So it's not.
I want people to give their best and top rated road trip snack recommendations. Drinks included.
I'm not as, again, remember she is allergic to all peanuts and tree nuts. So anything with peanut butter or cashews or almonds, like none of that.
One of our patrons, Mary, actually replied to that, and she suggested rice cakes, which I do already have. Like, I've got 2 big bags of
Yeah.
rice cakes. I've got the chocolate and the caramel, which are the 2 that I like. So I've had those ready to go. And she said popcorn, but sometimes popcorn makes my stomach hurt because it's hard to digest.
Popcorn, I love popcorn, but it does kind of hurt my stomach.
Then
sometimes.
she recommended meat sticks and cheese curds, and I was like, "Oh, okay." So I love jerky. I've had meat sticks just a couple times before, and I don't know that I like it more than jerky. But she said meat sticks and cheese curds, and I thought, well, what if you ate them together? And I was thinking, like the fried cheese curds that you get from like Culver's. And she responded with like a picture, and she's like, no, not the fried ones, just regular cheese curds. And I was like, I didn't know you could eat those raw.
What do you mean? They're just cheese.
I know. Like I never thought.
Do you think you have to fry all cheese?
No, cheese curds. Just for some reason, I've never seen.
Yeah, I don't.
I've never seen cheese curds just as cheese curds.
I believe
I've only ever seen them fried.
But I believe she's from more up north, like Michigan area. So that may be a regional thing. That's not a thing in the South. Like they don't have like cheese curds to buy at the grocery store or at like gas stations.
But we're driving across the country. We never know what we're gonna find.
That's true. I don't know. I mean, we got to load up on all that stuff. I have like a multi-tool with us. We both have like a knife in our cars if you need it for anything. We're both gonna have we both have portable big water bottles that are 40 ounces that like the top flips down to make a bowl for the dog. So we got water, as needed. We're gonna stop probably every couple hours to let the dogs out and get gas and that type of stuff. Because I have no idea what type of gas mileage I'm going to get in a 20-foot U-Haul pulling a car behind it. It's not going to be great. I'm definitely going to have to refuel more than you will, but we'll probably, every time we stop, we'll just fill you up as well, just so we don't have to stop again down the road. We've just never done a permanent move like this, especially this far. The worst I've gone moving wise is back and forth to college, which is only like less than 3 hours away. Now I've traveled all over other sides of the world even, but just not permanently. And so, it's an adventure for us. It's an adventure for Hannah specifically because she's never lived in an apartment before.
Nope.
But this is, just for anyone wondering, this is not normal apartment living. These are actually really nice apartments. So we're not going to be slumming it or anything. The good news is we're going to make a bunch of money off our house and we'll be able to, have a nice place to live. But it's becoming more and more real.
I've struggled a lot the last week or two. I cried 4 times today in the car.
I haven't cried at all.
Well, I can't stop crying.
Okay. I mean, yeah, it's I don't know. I don't typically, that's not like a reflex for me to cry. Sometimes I like wish it was, because I feel like you'd get a like, that gives you some sort of like physical release.
I thought you were going to say it gives you some leverage. So like if we're arguing, you can you could force yourself to cry to make me feel bad.
Not when we're arguing. No, I'm talking about like just sometimes in like really emotional pent up situations, it is a good, just like for your body to have that sort of release. And I just, for whatever reason, it doesn't, it's very, very rare if I cry. And, as Jake said, he cries when he gets mad.
Yes, he does.
And I don't think that, I don't get mad very often. Maybe I do too. Maybe when I get real mad, I would cry, but I don't let things bother me like they do him. And so,
neither one of us get really mad about stuff. Like I get like frustrated, but I don't ever get like angry.
Yeah, I don't like see red, and it's just like, you can't stop me. I'm doing what, like I've never been like that. He, for anyone keeping track, Jake initially was getting married somewhere close, and
yeah, it was originally going to be like 40 minutes down the road.
Yeah, and then he knew we were moving, but he came to us and said, "Hey, we decided to elope," and we're like, congratulations. We think that's smart. It's going to save you guys a ton of money and a lot of headaches
And you specifically had been talking to Amanda about it.
Yeah, because...
Like telling her, you guys should just elope.
Well, she was talking about how stressful it already was. And I was like, just elope. I was like, you're not going to regret that.
And it's so much cheaper.
And so they said, hey, we're eloping. And we're like, awesome. That doesn't mean we have to work around a move date and your wedding because you're just going to get married on your own. We think that's great. You know, we'll go to your showers and stuff before that. And then, so we start playing the move, and he's like, all right, we're eloping, and it's in this location, and it's 5 hours away, and it's just our family, and we want you guys there too. And we're like, okay, well, that's not eloping. And
yeah, and he came over and he's like, we rented a house for the weekend, so we're all going to spend the night together and have like a big house party. And I was like, that's not an elopement.
And at that point,
that's a destination wedding.
It's a small wedding, but it's a small destination wedding. And we're like, yeah, eloping's like when you guys just go to the courthouse and get married, and
or I have a
or just them two.
There's a girl I went to high school with. She graduated a year before me, and she eloped because she was having a lot of family issues, and
I'm all for it.
Like she and her now husband, she went to college at UT Knoxville, and so for their elopement they hired a professional wedding photographer, and they got someone to officiate it, and they went out in the middle of the woods and just had it there in the mountains, and then came back, and they're like, hey, we got married last weekend, here's the pictures on Facebook.
I'm all for that.
It was the two of them, whoever officiated it, and then the photographer, and that was it.
Again, at that point everything had been set in motion, and we actually closed on our house the day they get married. The day they get married, and so there's no way that we can be there
because they
know that
they're 5 hours in the opposite direction that we're even
in a different time zone too. If it was on the way to Utah, we could maybe work it out, but it is 5 hours in the wrong direction. So that's an extra 10 hours of driving.
That's a whole extra day.
It's just, there's just no way, and they know that. Like, they're not upset or anything. It's just, it's the way things worked out. We went to their showers, and we hung out with him Sunday a little bit, and I think we're hanging out this weekend a little bit more. But yeah, it's just, there's a lot going on. There's a million things happening. On top of that, you know, I honestly, for Patreon, I was going to say we were going to do, it's not really to do with the challenge, but for a different type of show just for Patreon. I was going to do the new season Ink Master with just us, you know, talking about those as a Patreon exclusive show. But that premieres on the 7th. That's 3 days before we move.
Dang.
And so I don't know. I don't think we're going to, we'll probably still do it. Not as structured as like what this one is, not go through the whole episode, just kind of give our like off the cuff thoughts about like, hey, this is what we liked in the episode, this is what we didn't like, that type of stuff. Because we do like Ink Master, and they've revamped it for Paramount Plus, new judges, new hosts, all that type of stuff. And so
I'm interested to see.
They brought back a lot of people that from past seasons.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how it is with a whole different dynamic and different judges.
I think Joel Madden, who is the host now, who's the lead singer of Good Charlotte, I think he'll be better than Dave.
Is he the one that's married to
Nicole Richie?
Yes. Okay.
I believe.
And then one of them's married to Cameron Diaz.
They're twins. Him and the guitar player are twin brothers.
Benji is married to Cameron Diaz.
Yeah. So, but Joel, because he is a front man, he probably is better at talking, because Dave sometimes is not the best at talking, especially those live finales. They're brutal. This is not Ink Master Recap. We're just letting you know.
But it might be Ink Master Recap in the future.
It will be on Patreon. And so a new season starts on September the 7th. We just like reality competition shows. I like all of them. I love if I could, I would do a Master Chef one. I would do a Top Chef one. I would do...
Zach, you're the host. Why... Nobody's stopping you.
I don't have time to do that many concurrently.
Nobody's stopping you from doing MasterChef instead.
Here's the thing.
Or MasterChef Junior.
But here's the thing. It's because If the challenge did one season a year, sure. They're killing us with how much stuff they're putting out, and it's not
overload.
It's just too much happening, and
especially after watching this week's episode, I feel like at Thanksgiving's been heavy on my brain the last couple weeks. I feel like the turkey that you're shoving stuffing into its hole, like you're putting so much stuffing in there, you have to punch it and. In a way,
this
fisted in
episode
there.
made you feel like this?
Yes. You know why? Because TJ announced that only one person is going to be eliminated from here on out. And that means this is going to be so drawn out. And we know that
unless they do a big final where it's like, oh, we have 12 to 14 people in the final.
Which doesn't seem right.
And
then there's going to be 3 other seasons of this because this is the U.S. version.
There's Australia, the UK, and Argentina.
And then we've got, like, the people that win that are coming on the normal one.
No.
Are they not?
They are not coming on the
What are they
normal
doing?
one. They are doing a world championship on Paramount Plus exclusively.
Okay.
But then a new season is done filming that'll come on MTV at some point.
Yeah, like I knew there was a new normal season coming.
It's separate from all
on
this.
top of all 4 of these weird seasons.
Well, and I am a little bit excited now about the war, or it's not War of the Worlds, but the World Championships or whatever, because apparently there's no announced names or anything. They are going to bring in people from the main show to compete in that.
Okay.
There's no names as far as I know that are out there, and obviously we're spoiler free. I don't mind cast spoilers because that doesn't really matter, but I don't really want to know anything in regards to this U.S. season. But people in our Patreon Slack group who are in the know have said that they are going to be bringing in people from the MTV show, which I am. You can't have a world champ without having the people who are objectively the best at this playing in it as well. And so we'll see what that means going forward. But for this episode, it does start off with TJ saying it's individual game from here on out, no more algorithm, which I'm fine with that because I think having your fate tied to a randomized whatever sucks.
Yeah. Well, I mean, last episode it ended with, the algorithm is still perfect, but I'm done with that. And so nobody really knew, like, oh, does that mean you get to choose your own partner or what? And then this, right off the bat, we find out, no, you're not choosing your own partner. There are no partners. It's just straight up individual, which I like an individual game.
Yeah,
a little bit better.
I'm fine with that. We did find out that Danny and Ben basically are talking about they have to stay Survivor strong going forward. There's a lot of talk about alliances in this episode, specifically like the Survivor Alliance. Mm-hmm. A lot of people that don't get a lot of camera time typically got a lot in this episode. I know some people in our Slack group thought that was kind of boring, just based on like, oh, well, really the people that are being shown right now are not a threat long term in the show. And so I did not realize that Sarah was the only girl not qualified for the final yet. There was a lot of talk in our group about how delusional Sarah was in this episode, even from people who were fans of her.
Yeah, I have a lot of notes on Sarah this week.
It's a weird, interesting episode for her.
I think she forgets this is not Survivor, and this is a whole new show with a whole new structure that she's never done before.
Well, and it's like, we'll get to the elimination stuff in a little bit, but like you can't just like all of a sudden be like, oh, I want to do something different than the rules are. And anyway, we see Ben wandering around the house at like 3:30 in the morning.
He says he hasn't slept in a week.
Yeah, and by the way, I wouldn't sleep well in that environment because they have all the lights on.
And there's always people talking
and moving, and you're in bunk beds
doing stuff.
Yeah, he says it's the anniversary of his friend's death. which is Blake, which that's just going to be the episode title. I feel like that's an appropriate episode title.
Blake
is R.I.P. Blake, because it became a pretty central theme of this episode, and he just we find out basically they were a 2-man team overseas, and he literally died in his arms, and so like that's gotta
weigh on you.
Yeah, that's for the rest of your life.
That's hard to get over. But I think this was a good episode for Ben.
Yeah, I don't mind Ben. He just hasn't done a lot. So, and he even said, he's like, I thought I was going to win all these dailies, and I've just not been good.
Yeah.
And so we get to the daily. It's just called Having a Blast.
Okay. I made a note about the name of this daily because every other daily, I never write down the daily name because I never listen to it. This season, they've all been awful, and they've all been lame, and they've all been dumb, but I've never written any of them down. I just make a note like, this is such a dumb name, and then you say it, and I'm like, that's what it was. And it is dumb.
Yeah.
I actually wrote this one down.
Why?
Because it's so awful, and it's so lazy.
I mean, I don't disagree. I think that they're like, oh, we have this boat that has water cannons on the back, like whatever, which didn't even really come into play very much.
No, my note was, quote, having a blast. What a stupid name for a daily.
I believe that's a Green Day song from like their first album, from Dookie, which they should have played, but they probably didn't want to pay to get the rights to. So also that song might be about masturbation. That may be why they didn't use it. So we find out it's just a men's elimination day at that point. That's the first we knew for sure. And I was like, oh my gosh, this season's going to take forever.
Yeah.
If we're alternating back and forth.
So the male and female winners, there's still both. There's still a male and female winner.
But they just vote for one.
They have to come in agreement on one male this week to throw into elimination.
That's going to stretch this out. I don't know how many episodes they're planning, but we're on episode 8.
I was so disheartened when he said.
I feel like
said one person.
I feel like we're going to have at least 16 episodes.
I don't want that many.
I don't mind this season, but
I don't want it being drug out like that.
I feel like 16's too many to then have 3 other spinoffs that are coming, and then a culmination season on top of an MTV season.
Yes.
So
again, we are the turkey, and the different seasons are the stuffing, and the human is Buna Murray in production. They are shoving and packing in so much stuffing that we are going to explode.
The gist of the daily is you're on like this like boat, I don't know, and you jump off of it onto like a slip and slide runway that has a safe, and you're just running back and forth and getting keys and whatever. It's supposed to be slippery with soap, and the water cannons are supposed to be, your opponents are going to spray you. No one does that.
No
one sprays the other person. If anything, they're like, let's try to clear some soap off the runway for them.
Yeah,
but so no one's actively trying to like slow someone down.
Yeah.
So I didn't like that. I didn't when it first
made it boring.
Yeah, when I first started it, I was like, man, these pairings can really be beneficial for some people, because if other ones are like in an alliance, they're not going to spray them. And I was like, so that's going to really disadvantage someone else. But then nobody sprayed anything.
Yeah.
And so I was like, they should have just had someone from production on those cannons, and then just been like, just go crazy. Like, get a production assistant who's just been running errands all day, and be like, you know what? You could just spray them every time that they're doing this.
Aim for the face.
Yeah, like, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so
Enzo immediately bleeds.
He had to get stitches.
I don't know what he did or how he did it, but immediately gets up and he's bleeding.
It had to be something that like was tied, like maybe like a zip tie, like holding something, because those can kind of have jagged edges, or a zip, something that just caught his leg when he landed and slid, because no one else had that problem. But yeah, he gets that, and he gets stitches on it.
Ben killed it, and I thought it was nice that after he finished, because they went in heats.
Yeah.
So he and Enzo were going at the same time, and when Ben finished, he was cheering on Enzo,
That's
after he won their heat.
The one thing really for the most part about this season is everyone is too nice to each other.
Well, Ben said that he really liked Enzo.
It's not just Ben though.
I know. Yeah, I very much get what you're saying. But Ben was like singing a lot of praises for Enzo. Like apparently he really likes him and they're pretty good buddies.
Kayla falls off immediately. Doesn't jumps and then just like momentum just carries her off with like the soap, and she immediately falls in the water. Not a good look. However, at the very end, Desi does the exact same thing. Yeah, and
immediately.
And Desi's arms could beat up any of us, and so it doesn't have to do with like how you're built or anything. It's just technique. Mm-hmm. And so. Sarah in one of the confessionals says she thinks Angela is overrated and not very good.
She said she thinks Angela has had an easy ride, and that
I don't agree with that.
She hasn't proven yet that she's the competitor that everybody says she is. Don't agree with that. Angela has very much proven herself.
I mean, she did. She was teamed with Tyson for the first one,
but even when
they won, and then she was teamed with Katelin and they won.
She was paired with other people and still did well.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I don't think. Angela, the only way you can say Angela hasn't proven herself is she hasn't been in an elimination, but she's not been in an elimination because she's been in a lot of these winner circles.
Because she's been performing.
And then in just kind of a wild thing to me, which David says that Justine is equal with Angela.
Yeah, and one of the best
Justine
competitors
has done
in the
good.
house.
Justine has done way better than I expected. However,
not the same.
I don't feel like her and Angela are on the same plane as far as just like long run in the game. And if you put them in like a vacuum and said which one is the better challenge player, I think Angela wins that clearly. But it happens. Again, Desi falls. I don't have individual things.
I just had that Leo did really well. And then
surprisingly.
At the end yelled out, calling himself King Leonidas of Argentina.
Is he Argentinian?
I asked you that. I didn't know. But he did call himself a king after he finished. Me. Yeah. And did he and Desi went at the end, so they didn't spray their heat at all. No, but their heat was just them. Yeah. He wasn't going like in a race against another male. He just was in a race against himself.
Yeah. It was just there's an odd number of people at this point, and so you had to do a one-off thing. So Angela wins for the girls, Ben wins for the guys. I mean, they both did well. Again, ironic that Sarah was like, Angela's not good, and then she wins that daily. Yeah. And then it's a good win for Ben because, if anything, this seems to be the anniversary of a hard time for him. Well, it's got to lift your spirits a little bit.
He said the day of the daily was the anniversary of his friend's death.
Yeah.
And so he, in his mind, he's like, I've got to win this for Blake, and he did. He performed incredibly well.
And we get the winners and losers talk, after this, and really not much. I don't think anything of like substance happened. Literally, Enzo is just like, "Oh yeah, I got 2 or 3 stitches," and he's like, "I'm down for whatever," and they're like, "Okay." And then I was like, "Man, that was really short," but it's because we get a night out, and I think that's why. But Angela does tell Ben that she wants Desi or Sarah, basically, which
to go into elimination.
To go in, yeah. Which probably those are 2 of the biggest competitions for Angela for sure.
But also Sarah's supposed to be Ben's best friend.
Exactly.
Interesting. Angela sees a lot of potential in Alyssa. And is out of everybody is wanting to pair it with Alyssa and
Alyssa
protect
did win
her.
An elimination, which had a little bit of luckiness to it as far as like the weird pop culture questions. Mm-hmm. Alyssa has surprised me. I'll say that she's been around as long as she has. Considering early on Tyson was making fun of someone, and then it turned out it was her, and he was her partner. As far as like their warm-ups and all that stuff.
A warm-up bike ride was 12 miles, and he was like, that's not even a warm-up. And she's like, oh, that was me. And he's like, that wasn't a warm-up.
So we get a night out, And Ben does a toast for his friend, for everyone. And again, we see these kind of like toast things every so often. I don't think we've ever seen one in like remembrance of someone.
Not that I know of.
But Leo then starts talking strategy.
He called Angela his little angel.
He did.
And
she's probably bigger than him.
Yeah,
she's a tall lady.
It made me uncomfortable.
And then he said, "I'm going to name my 4th cat after you if you do me this favor."
Because the 3rd cat will be named after Alyssa.
So it'll be Leo, Alyssa, Angela.
Yeah.
But if you're Angela, that's not like a very tempting offer. You're not like, oh, you know what? I can't throw him in because he said he was going to name his cat after his 4th cat after me. You gotta play a little bit better than that. So
Enzo was really upset about the fact that he was hurt. He seemed to like be taking it like emotionally not well.
Well, I mean, he just said, if he had a couple more days to heal up, then that's. Mm-hmm. But I don't blame him because you don't want to have stitches and then have something get hit and split them back wide open, and you never know, they may could medically disqualify you or something like that. So he is worried about that. And then all of a sudden, Sarah is talking to Desi and Kayla. Yeah. And she just says, "I want to go in against Enzo." And they're like, okay, like, sure, hype her up, whatever. But like, she's like, no, I'll beat him. I won't not come back. And I was like, you don't even know what the elimination is.
Yeah.
Like, what if it's just like we saw in the Gauntlet 2, where it's that reverse tug of war, which is whoever's just the bigger person wins, like that type of thing. Enzo's much bigger
unless it's Josh versus
No. I said the Gauntlet era one. I'm not talking about where like they're doing a tug of war on while balancing and
Jordyn takes down.
But Jordyn tricked him because Josh is dumb, and I don't know. She just is like, oh, I won't not come home. I'll for sure beat him. And then,
well, she goes into this speech about how there's never been a female versus a male in elimination and challenge history. And she wants to be a role model for other little girls that are watching this show, that she can do whatever she puts her mind to. And I'm like, okay, even if if production let you do this, that means we will be left with an uneven amount of guys and girls.
Yeah. And you have to do another one.
So we would have to do another male versus female elimination. And just because you want to do it doesn't mean everybody else in the house wants to do it.
It's not even that. It's like the elimination, what's Hall Brawl? And like, if you're Enzo, you're like, if you were lined up against Sarah, like in his mind, he's going to be like, I can't like go full force.
Yeah.
Like, and so that kind of creates a like weird disadvantage for him. And so it's just like, it's just like not doable because like, just for like say, like we've seen people in Hall Brawls, which a lot of people in our Slack group talk, not a lot, but a few of them have said like Hall Brawl is the most overrated, elimination.
No, we've seen people get hurt.
Like, yeah, we've seen, like Kyle's like dislocated fingers and like, we like, I don't think it was Hall Brawl, but like not long ago,
pole wrestle.
Like Jeyyy got knocked out by Rogan, and like when there's just like a size and physicality thing happening, like Enzo's probably, I'd say minimum 5 inches and probably 40 pounds heavier.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know like what their heights and weights are. But, I mean, just in something like this, like, that's a significant amount. And that's why he beat Leo so easily. Like, because it's just like...
It's just, Hall Brawl, if you are the bigger person, you have the way better advantage.
Classic example. Wes versus Big Easy. Wes is a better player at the challenge. Big Easy just took up the whole hallway. And there was nowhere to go. Yeah. And so there was just nothing you can do. And so, like, we get to Hall Brawl, Sarah's still saying she wants to go in, but some people pointed out, because she's saying that in the confessionals, right? Not like on set. She's wearing like jeans and whatever. She's not prepared to go in. So I think she's just retroactively like talking it up. And that's what some other people said too. Because she like doesn't get picked. They pick Leo, and she's like in her confessional upset about how could they not give me this chance? And it's like, they're just not gonna do it. Like, it's just production's gonna be like, no. Like, why? And
she has to know that.
Yeah, it just seems like a lot of after the fact, like talking it up to like, oh, I would have done this or whatever. But anyway, Leo's the pick.
It would have been fun if it was Danny, because he
needs the money.
Yeah, one, he needs the money. Two, he's a professional football player, and three, he's built for this.
Yeah. I mean, Enzo is, because afterwards Enzo came up to Danny and he was like, I thought it was gonna be you. He's like, I was real nervous. And they're about the same size, but Danny is like, he played football his whole life and he was at the highest level possible. And
Enzo's hurt.
Yeah, and this is shoulder pads and a helmet and hitting, and it's like, oh yeah, Danny's built for this. But anyway, he didn't go in, and it's a best of 3 rounds. And at the beginning, Leo said he was gonna gun for Enzo's leg, and I was like, well, that's kind of a crappy thing to do.
It's bad sportsmanship.
But I mean, I guess as long as they tell you can't do it, then it's fair game. But he didn't do that. Like, he runs in there and immediately like turns his shoulder to like absorb the impact. Like, he doesn't go head on, and I don't blame him. Like, Enzo's a bigger guy than him.
He put up a bigger fight than anybody expected him to. In round one, he put up a bigger fight than anybody expected him to. Still didn't get it.
No, Enzo wins round 1 pretty easily. There's some resistance there, but round 2,
Leo gets bodied.
Yeah, I think he just is like, ooh, that wasn't fun to do round 1. And he's even more of a like, I don't want
to do it again.
And Enzo's like, I know that I'm 1 round away from taking his money, which
if
is a
anything,
lot.
That's going to subconsciously make you hit harder.
Yeah, and be like, I just need 1 more. And he did. Enzo, he rocked him and took him out. I do think, in the grand scheme of the challenge, that pole wrestle is a more exciting physical elimination than Hall Brawl. I think Hall Brawl has earned its place.
I love Hall Brawl. It is a classic.
Yeah, I think you have to have it on every season.
Yeah. But pole wrestle is probably my favorite.
Hall Brawl just is more of a, it's just a name now that everyone knows, even if you don't really know the challenge. And it's just like, oh, this could be intense. We've had some bad ones. Like, we had it in like Spies, Lies, and Allies, where it was like Amber B versus Amber whatever, and it was not a good elimination. Ugh. But for the most part, it's fine. I do think pole wrestle is the more exciting one. But yeah, Enzo just took him out, and then
Kayla cries a lot.
Well, it's her last Amazing Race person. And then in a move that I can't honestly remember. I'm sure it's happened at some point in the past, but not in a way that I've ever noticed. Like, typically after your eliminations, even if like you get your hand messed up or whatever, like you get one more like camera time where TJ's like, hey, unfortunately it didn't work out for you. Wish you all the best. You get to say your goodbyes or say your last like your last piece to the group.
Also, TJ has to say his last goodbyes to you, where, you know, that's where we really find out what he thinks of them as a competitor, because he'll say one of 2 things. It just wasn't your night. Wish you all the best, or we really hope to see you again in the future. Yeah.
And they cut to like a weird behind the scenes side thing where it's like a medical check, and a producer's like, hey, you're not going to go out there? And he's like, I don't want to go. He's like,
he literally said, I don't see why it matters. Yeah.
And so he didn't come back out to film the final piece. And so TJ's like, well, Enzo's back there. And I mean, Leo's back there. So Enzo, you won. Congratulations. You took all his money. And I was like, that's just kind of like a baby way to go. Like, sure, you got beat, but like we've seen some way more humiliating eliminate. Like on paper, Enzo should have won that all day long. We've seen people get absolutely destroyed, and then they still will come out and do the final thing.
Yeah, like
unless you're in an ambulance or something.
So we've seen like really, really, really bad losses where the person just
or huge upset.
Just swallows their pride and comes back out and just stands there and listens and then shakes hands with TJ and leaves.
Because it's not immediate.
And we've seen really bad losses where the person comes back out, shakes TJ's hand, and then turns to the house and cusses them all out.
Yeah.
Whether you're mad or embarrassed or what.
They give you like your final chance to say something, and he just, I don't want to. And it's
I don't remember that ever happening.
The only times I remember someone not being there is like a medical situation, like like he had to go get checked out or something.
This person fractured a rib,
but even a lot of times when they get hurt, like
they'll wrap up your hand.
Tina like broke her, but I mean I guess she won that one. And then but like we've had like Kyle dislocated fingers and he's still hanging out there, and it's like typically. You just come back. I don't think someone may correct me. If you remember one, let us know, because I don't. But, it was not a great look. That's the last note I have for the episode. He just didn't come back out. Again, I am curious to see how this season goes going forward. If they are only doing single eliminations from here on out, because they're still a pretty decent-sized cast. But, maybe they'll do like 5 more episodes of this and then a final. I don't know. I really don't. I have no idea.
There's no way
they haven't released any.
To keep watching.
Well, yeah, they haven't released any like, hey, this is when the World Championship premieres or anything like that. So as far as I know, the other 3 shows haven't even
happened.
I mean, I'm sure they've had to have filmed by now, but as far as I know, they haven't released any sort of, hey, this is the date. I know that someone has announced who the hosts are for some of the other shows. It's not TJ, but I don't think that there's it's premiering on September whatever. So God, who knows how long they're dragging all this out, because again there's another MTV season coming. It's done, it's filmed. They haven't announced anything yet, but the cast is out there, and they even had COVID shutdowns, and it still like went on, and it's done filming. So like it's gonna happen in the like fall. I don't see how we get into like October and don't have an announcement yet. We
are the turkey being stuffed.
Anyway, final thoughts for the episode, or do you want to get into superlatives?
I had a few final thoughts. I think it was before the night out, Ben and Angela were talking, where Angela was trying to make a proposal of alliances, and Ben realized that he probably needs to make relationships outside of Sarah, and then the Sarah wanting to go against Enzo in elimination. I think that kind of proved Ben right. Like he probably does need to.
Sarah's,
if she's going to be doing things like that, he probably does need to have like a stronger alliance with other people.
Here's the thing. I know Sarah was good at Survivor, and she's been pretty good overall here. To me, and to some of the people in our Slack group, because I've seen it, I don't think she's proven herself really on this season, other than that one elimination with Leo where they went against 2 people who did not really make a good effort on the like big little small wide or whatever as far as the wheels, and that's it. That's all she's done. She has $2,000 basically, or $2,500.
She's the only girl left that can't go to the final.
Yeah, and so like she's acting like, oh, I'm the reigning champ here, and I've done whatever I need to. I can take on anyone and beat him. Again, it's like, oh, I'm partnered with Tyson. Let's just go in and get money, but not tell him. And it's just like, you haven't really proven anything this season. I know that she's been good on Survivor, but also I know for a fact that Tony from Survivor was on 2 separate Survivor seasons with her and beat her and screwed her over both seasons. And so like, she's also had some not great moments in like these competition arenas, and I don't know. I feel like in her mind she's like, I'm so far ahead of all these other competitors. Even like it doesn't matter who I go against. And I don't think that that's the case.
I think in her ambition to make a big move in the game, she's not realizing, she's like leaving reality behind her. One, we saw it when she was paired with Tyson, and she's like, oh, I'm going to throw Tyson under the bus and try to get us sent to elimination,
and not tell him,
to
throw him
off,
yeah.
so that it'll throw him off, which she's not realizing increases her chances of going home.
Yeah, because
of that, and now, oh, I want to be the first female to go against a male in an elimination. It would have been Hall Brawl, which would have sent her home.
Yeah,
it's just she's not thinking things through. I think she's got tunnel vision, and she's a little bit short-sighted in she's more concerned with making a big move or just doing something big that's going to get a lot of camera time. I'm not saying she's looking for the camera, but she's looking for something that people are going to talk about.
I'll say so far, other than the one elimination win, she hasn't done anything.
Yeah.
Like
she's forgetting that this is a long game that's drawn out, and you have to be thinking about the money at the end of the finish line, and she's distracted by this cave of opportunity. That she's coming up with crazy ideas that don't work, that would never work, just to make a big move.
I would say, in the long run, she probably still is like a good favorite to maybe be a female winner. But based on what's happened so far in this season and what people have done, I would put Angela above her. I'd put Justine above her. Mm-hmm. I would put Desi above her. I would put probably Kayla above her.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think who else is even still here.
Alyssa's
done as good as Sarah so far, but has more money. And Alyssa,
because she's won a daily.
I was about to say, yeah, I think she won daily and an elimination.
Yeah, that's how she's got the money.
And so, I can't remember who else is still here, but I was just like, so far, Sarah has acted like she is, I've proven everything, and it's the system who's got me down. And it's like, no, you just haven't won.
Yeah.
And it's like, so I don't know. It's kind of like this weird like air of confidence, which is not fully earned yet in this arena because it's not Survivor.
Right. My final thought, I don't know if you caught it. After, Ben and Angela have their little talk, David, the one that I can't remember who he is, I caught the lower thirds with his name. David mentioned that he will never get blindsided.
Yeah, I wrote that. And then
I wrote a quote, "It will never happen to me." So I'm wondering if that's some foreshadowing.
I wrote that quote down because I was like, oh, maybe he gets thrown in, because this seems like foreshadowing.
That's what I was
nothing
thinking.
Came of it, and so I was like, well, I didn't even bring it up.
Well, I don't remember him getting any camera time after that.
He didn't, I don't think. So that's why I skipped right over.
But I just wonder if they left it in because maybe he does get blindsided in the next couple episodes. Maybe the next male elimination.
That's very possible, and I hope that's the case, because otherwise, I wrote it down specifically for that reason. I was like, oh, they left these like context clues here for a reason.
And production does that.
Yeah.
They like to do that.
Well, maybe they got one over on us. So superlatives for the episode. Who smashed some heads?
Enzo.
Okay.
He smashed his leg, and then he smashed Leo so hard that he didn't want to come back out and say goodbye.
Yeah. This one's tough for me because I don't want to just say Enzo as well. I'll give it to Ben. Ben won his first daily, and it's a big anniversary for him. And
in remembrance of Blake.
Yeah. So I'll give it to Ben. So who got their head smashed? I think we'll probably agree on this.
Sarah.
No.
To herself.
Kind of
trying to throw herself into elimination and like convincing herself and trying to convince other people in the house that she will, without a shadow of a doubt, beat Enzo no matter what and come back in and make challenge history. Like she's all over the place, and it's not in a good way.
I'm gonna, since you did her, I'm gonna say Leo. because his offer of naming a fourth cat after somebody didn't hold water, and they threw him in anyway. And then he got his feelings hurt and wouldn't come out for the final shot, which makes him look even worse now. If he would have just come out, no one would have thought anything about it.
Yeah.
And now we had these like behind the scenes footage of him like, I don't want to. And it's just like, okay, like just be an adult. Like, like you signed up for this show. So that's mine. Reading suggestions like we've been doing.
I started reading The Phantom of the Opera. And
I've seen that play on Broadway in London.
I've never seen the play. I've never seen the movie, which the movie came out, 10, 15 years ago?
Well, there's probably been like 5 movies.
But there was a big one. Like, I think I was in middle school or high school when it was really big.
You were not in middle school for sure. Unless there was another one. There's been multiples because it's just like a classic.
Yeah.
There was a Disney Channel original movie called The Phantom of the Megaplex. Was that the one you're talking about?
No, but I may have seen that.
There's the 2004 one is not the one. I believe there was an even more recent one. I mean, it's from 1910. Like
I know.
maybe 2004 was the most recent. There's people are saying 2022.
Official trailer.
The Phantom of the Open. I don't know. Maybe 2004 was the last.
Who's
one.
in it? Gerard Butler. Yeah, that's the one. Okay, so
Amy Russum.
So definitely not middle school. No, so that there were a lot of people talking about that movie. I guess even when I was in high school, because there's
I don't know a single person who's seen this movie. I'm sure there has.
Anyway, I've never seen any of the movies. I've never seen the plays. I just knew that it was a classic book, and actually, what I've been doing over the last couple years is I have been slowly building my collection of like classic novels and classic literature. That's why I have so many Jane Austen novels, and I've got like just miscellaneous stuff like that. And so this was one that I wanted to add to my collection, but I've never read it and I didn't know really anything about it. So I started reading it last week, and I haven't had usually I would be done with it by now, but I haven't had a lot of time because we're moving. But I'm about halfway through, and it's not what I thought it was going to be, but I really like it.
I've never read the book. Again, saw the play on Broadway in London because I'm very cultured. And I honestly don't remember what the story's about very much. I probably could get the gist of it, but
there's a lot of French influence in the book.
It may have been a French book. Yeah, it's by a French author.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I don't remember too much about it because I was probably like 12 or 13 when I saw it, and so it was a long time ago.
Well, the Phantom of the Opera is not an actual phantom; it's a man that lives at the theater. Yeah. And he like haunts the hallways, and everybody's scared of him.
He wears a half mask.
Yeah, because he's like deformed.
Yeah.
And he's got like a weird obsession with one of the singers.
Yeah. And
then she ends up disappearing, and they're trying to figure out what happened to her.
Yeah.
So the book is written in the point of view of, from what I've picked up, now I could have it wrong. It seems like the author is just recounting like, hey, I went here and I heard these stories and interviewed these people, and this is what they said.
Oh, okay. So it's not the character's like point of view.
No, it's like a third person point of view.
Huh. I don't know. I have not read the book. It's been a long time. For me, a little bit different. Same vein. Then I've been given graphic novel or trades or that type of thing for the most part. On this one, because I haven't finished some of the ones I planned on reading leading into this, I don't feel confident suggesting it yet. So I don't read halfway through and then give suggestions because maybe I don't like the ending. What if you hate the ending of Phantom of the Opera?
Well, I'm enjoying it so much up to this point.
No,
I would if I'm enjoying the reading, whether I like the ending or not, I would still recommend the book.
Yeah, it's not that. It's just I can recommend something that I have actually fully finished at this point, and so I'm going to recommend X-Men Grand Design. So
you have those all over the wall.
Granddesign. Yeah. It's my favorite retelling of the X-Men stuff. It's by an author named Ed Piskor, Piskor. He did some other things, he did these books called The Hip Hop Family Tree, which is like the history of hip hop and stuff. But I liked this X-Men Grand Design because basically he was retelling the entirety of the X-Men history from start to finish. Well, I mean, it's not finished, but, to give people the full backstory on everything. And it's his take on it, but it's pretty, dialed into, the actual thing. But it's a much more concise version of the full overview of the X-Men history. He did 3 parts of it. There was Grand Design 1, 2, and 3. And each one was only, 2 issues, but they were long. And the thing that I liked about it is they printed them on these newspaper style pages instead of typical slick glossy comic pages. So it has a smell and a texture to
it's
it. That's
smelly.
Well, it's just different than, and they're very thick books compared to most things. And then the trade versions are oversized. They're 12 inches tall and probably 8 or 9 inches wide, so they're really big, oversized print, again, on the newspaper type stuff. And it's just a very unique art style and retelling. I've learned since then that I don't necessarily like the author as much in real life.
Don't you hate when that happens?
Yeah, he went on to work on this book called Red Room, I believe, and it's all just an internet-based torture porn thing.
Ew.
It's insanely graphic and just gross for the sake of people being skinned alive.
Ew,
and
I don't want to hear that.
And I stopped.
This is a children's podcast.
I stopped following him on Instagram and Twitter and stuff, and then I've heard from some other comic people that I follow and have met and friendly with that he is not the most pleasant person to deal with. But I do really, it's kind of separate the art from the artist type thing. I do still love X-Men Grand Design. It was basically 3 different parts. They did part 1 and it was 2 issues, part 2 and it was 2 issues, and part 3 and it was 2 issues. But then they do these combined versions of you can get the big oversized trades. And if you ever like X-Men or want to know the history of the mutants and all the backstory and all that, this tells it from its inception in a very concise way. So it'll hit major milestones and not 12 pages on one thing. It hits it all pretty quick. And Hannah's looking at it. I like the art style a lot.
Yeah, they're fun little covers.
Yeah.
You have them all framed.
I have all of them. I have all 17
all of them
covers.
framed, and they're all on the wall.
Yeah, he did all, because with comics they do a lot of variant covers stuff. I talked about it with Stray Dogs, how they did these homages to classic thriller horror movies and stuff. This one, he just did all these special editions for certain companies, or one of them I can't see it because there's a light in the way, but one of them's Stan Lee. And
that was the one I was looking at.
Yeah, that was a special edition from a Stan Lee collector's box thing. That's the most expensive one, but the rest of them I got all pretty easily. But again, I just like it. X-Men Grand Design. It's the only probably superhero type thing I'll recommend because it's so different than a lot of the other Marvel trades or things like that. And I prefer Marvel over DC, but more than anything when it comes to comics, I like the indie comics because they can do so much weirder stuff that the big companies can't or won't. I like the weird sci-fi, strange type things, which is what I've mostly been recommending. So, we'll be back with you next week. No guarantees on when. It'll be before we move, but there's so many things in flux right now, and we do honestly 100% appreciate everyone who still listens and does all this in the midst of the weird release schedules. Once we get settled in Utah and get in and get everything kind of at a normal pace, it'll be much easier to kind of get this going. It's just, we're literally moving across the country away from a lot of our friends and family, so we're trying to make time to see everybody before we go, and it's just been a lot of things happening. And then now we have, I think I mentioned at the top of the episode with one of my friends, and I just got a text message about that memorial service and all that stuff. And so there's just a lot of things happening, but we're still here. We're not going anywhere. We will be doing a Patreon Ink Master thing, which is going to happen.
Good to know.
And that'll be coming. So if you are interested in Ink Master, again, patreon.com/smashingheads podcast. And once we get to Utah, once we get settled, all that stuff, we will do basically a revamp of our Patreon tiers and the things that are offered and all that. Because I mentioned last week that I think we may do like, hey, give us your hot takes on, that's a perk of being a patron. And
I guarantee you people have hot takes.
Armando came in swinging. I don't want to do it now because it's at the end of the episode. We'll do it at the top of the next episode because his is very muy caliente at the beginning.
Ooh.
It's a very hot one that
is it spicy hot? Or is it mild hot? Is it Diablo hot?
I can't tell you. We'll have to discuss it at the beginning of the next episode. Again, I meant to do it at the beginning of this one, but as you heard, there's been a lot of things going on. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to get all of our current patrons to go ahead and retroactively give us their hot takes, and then we'll probably just nail all those at the beginning of an episode.
Let's
go from there. So I may go ahead and post that on Patreon and get that going. But yeah, it's I know there's some people who are gonna probably be upset by some of these things or completely disagree, but that's what it's for. Yeah, you're a patron.
It's a hot take.
Well, that doesn't mean we agree with it, but we're gonna say what you think, as long as it's not like malicious. Like I don't want you to be like, this person is so ugly. Like I don't
I think
want to
it
do
would
that.
be funny, but no, I wouldn't. You can tell us you think someone's butt ugly, but we probably wouldn't repeat it.
Yeah. So again, patreon.com/smashingheads podcast. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, all that stuff, and we will be back with you next week.
Stay cute.